Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the least in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells. Today is August 7th, week 1 preseason officially here. We get to see all of our teams back in action. We saw the Bears and Texans last week. I got a couple thoughts on that. But yeah, we're just another step closer. We're almost there. Week 1, so close. And yeah, today was like we got to see in training camps anyways, teams going at other teams. Kirby Joseph and rookie Malik Neighbors got themselves in a fight. There was a fight between the Dolphins and the Falcons at their training camp practices. It's just, we're almost there. You know when teams are getting in fights with each other in training camp, they're chomping at the bit to get some live, real, meaningful playing time. We're almost there. I mentioned it, the Hall of Fame game from last week versus the Texans and the Bears. I think that the Bears ended up winning that one. I forget. I don't really care. Nothing really of note to really talk about, obviously. No one really played. Davis Mills looked good. Good backup. That's great for the Texans to have. On the Bears side, Colin Johnson, who probably a lot of people don't know, he was a wide receiver at Texas, got drafted to the Jags. He's big. I'm pretty sure he's 6'6", and he looked great out there. He was making lots of plays, making some great contested catches. Obviously, he's a big body, big red zone target, but I remember Colin Johnson where, I forget what Madden it was, but it's like he was a rookie in whatever. Like, I would go and I'd pick him whenever I'd do, like, a fantasy draft, and I'd pick Colin Johnson, move him to tight end, and he'd end up being one of the best tight ends in the league at 6'6". Kind of just like a Darren Waller type. Couldn't block for shit, but God, could he get open against linebackers. Again, all hypothetical Madden stuff. But yeah, Colin Johnson. I guess the one big thing to take away from this game was we finally got to see what the new kick returns looked like. Didn't see a whole lot from it in this one game, but you can see the potential. You could see there was a couple times where the returner like slipped on the grass. There are lanes there. There will be open lanes. I can't wait. I can't wait. There's gonna be a lot of return TDs this year. I'll tell you that. But this episode, doing the AFC and NFC North divisions, two of the best divisions in football right now. Lots of very good teams to talk about. Lots of ascending teams to talk about. But first, we have a lot to talk about in the NFL Weekly Update here. Starting off with not confirmed news, but talking about Brandon Ayuk again. I think that I said a few weeks ago where I don't know why the Niners would trade him. Now it seems like the ball is in Ayuk's court. Whether he accepts the offer that the Niners gave him or take whatever trade package you want out of these for 3. You discuss the trade package, or you discuss what contract you want from them, and if they agree on both terms, we'll ship you off. Again, the Niners do hold all the leverage. They don't have to trade him, and they shouldn't. Their Super Bowl window is very, very open this year. Obviously, the only reason that they would trade him is if they get pieces back that would add to their core. And Ricky Pearsall would have to have a big emergence here. But apparently the teams in play, the Browns, the Patriots, and then the Steelers have been in the mix. Last I heard was the Steelers might have been out. But either way, Brandon Ayuk, a trade might happen, a trade might not happen. I don't think the Niners should do it, but I'm trusting pretty boy Ricky over there on Twitter, who's going out on his shield that Brandon Ayuk will be traded. He's saying it's the Steelers. I guess let's see, but that's some Brandon Ayuk news. Now for actual news, Tyreek Hill, after just getting named the number 1 player in the NFL, voted by the players. A little ridiculous if you ask me, but he gets extended 3-year, $90 million contract, 65 guaranteed. keeping Tyreek at 30 million, where we have seen the wide receiver market take off, obviously with Jay Jettas getting 35. CD's going to get around that number too. So getting Tyreek for 5 mil less a year for that, great value. Like, he's still an elite receiver. He's still arguably the best receiver in the league. So I can't be mad about this deal. We got him at a good number. He is still elite. Fantastic, fine by me. There's a small part of me, though, where I do wish we let him go after this year. This would have been his final year, and then it's like, okay, let Waddle take over. Hopefully some of these younger guys emerge that we drafted this year. Draft another one, maybe bring someone else in, but let Waddle be that guy. Because at the end of the day, Tyreek is just such a piece of shit. Like, I know he's a phenomenal football player, but just he's a garbage person. I don't like him. I don't like that he's on my team, if we're being honest, but he is an incredible, incredible football player, and getting him at that number is very good for the Dolphins. So I can't be upset about it, but I thought we were going to have an out where Tyreek wasn't going to be on this team next year. But I digress. Another big extension here. Tristan Wirfs, 5-year, $140.6 million, making him the highest paid tackle in the league. Obviously deserves so. Drafted in 2020, Wirfs has been nothing but fantastic since he's been drafted. Had to shift over to the left side of the line last year, and people are like, he's never really played the left side. He's a right tackle. He was a right tackle in college, and did that transition seamlessly. I'm pretty sure I read he's only allowed, or only has 4 holding penalties. I think that's what it was, only 4 holding penalties throughout his entire career. Like, the man is just incredible, absolutely deserves all that money. Congrats to Tristan Wirfs. Another big extension here, DJ Moore, 4-year, $110 million, 82 guaranteed. That is a low number for DJ Moore and what he does based off where the wide receiver market went this year. Obviously, still a shit ton of money. Like, he's happy about it. But I thought that DJ Moore could have pushed into that $30 million mark. I think that DJ Moore is still very, very, very underrated, and we'll see quickly why he should have got paid more and why he will be Caleb Williams' favorite target, and we'll talk about the Bears and everything very shortly. But great deal for the Bears, great deal for DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore's had like all of his contract money almost guaranteed. Like, he's doing great, and even if he didn't hit his max value what he could have, getting what was it, 82 I think? Yeah, 82 guaranteed of the 110. He's fine. He's doing great. Great number for the Bears to get him locked up at. Some smaller signings here, extensions. Quandre Diggs goes to the Titans, reuniting with former Seahawks teammate Jamal Adams. Good deal. I think Quandre Diggs is still a plus player in this league, still effective when he starts. Now, I'm trying to remember who the other safety is for the Titans, because the other one I was like, okay, you're not going to start, but I think it's Elijah Molden. I think Elijah Molden is that safety, and he's pretty good, and I think that the Titans staff likes him. So I think what it's going to be, and I forget who... it's not Denard Robinson, it's something Denard, but the new Titans defensive coordinator who came over from the Ravens, Denard Wilson? Maybe, I don't know. But they run a lot of 3 safety looks, and I think that Adams will be that guy, mainly playing box safety. He is blitz boy after all. He will not be in one of those starting true safety roles. I think that will be Molden and Diggs, and they'll all rotate in and out, but the Titans have just, they keep amassing, the best players of 2018, essentially, on this team, which, not a bad strategy, but I guess we'll see where it goes. Devon Godchaux of the Patriots, 2-year, $21 million extension, $16 million guaranteed. Solid player for the Patriots. I thought former Dolphin, the Dolphins drafted him. I thought when he got signed by the Patriots gave him too much. And I think I look at this number and I also think that's too much. Like, he's a good player, average. Like, that's, again, but I don't know. That's a lot of money for a guy who I think is fairly replaceable. But again, he's like, I don't know, like the Ted Karras or the Alex Kappa of the offensive lineman, who it's like, that's a starter. Devon Godchaux's a starter. Do I think he's worth like more than $10 million a year to start? Probably not, but good for him on getting that money. And finally, with the contracts here, Harrison Butker, the Chiefs kicker, signs a 4-year, $25.6 million deal, making him the highest paid kicker in the league. A job that he won't even be doing on kickoffs because he is not enough of a man to do that. But congrats to him and his family. His wife will never have to work a day in her life because the man of the house, Harrison Butker, is the breadwinner, as it should be. Yeah, Harrison Butker is just kind of a piece of shit, but it is what it is. We got a retirement here. Tariq Cohen, most known for his time with the Bears. Tiny man, but he is retiring from the league after trying to make a comeback with the Jets, like, as the returner. It's just too bad that, like, he had, I think, multiple knee injuries, I think an Achilles injury, and it's tough to come back from that when you are, when you're running back. And that, I just thought about from the Hall of Fame game, Cam Akers, who has come from, I think he's had 2 Achilles injuries now, and he's still trying to play for the Texans, and he had some moments in that preseason game. We'll see what he does, but shout out to Cam Akers for still kind of grinding away after all those injuries. But Cohen tried to do the same, and he just had to walk away from it. I think the returner role is a little bit different than what it was. I mean, obviously it's different from what it was like 5 years ago, but it's not going to be like the tiny speedsters who just need one hole and going. Like, if you can break tackles, I think getting someone who is also fast but has a little bit of a build to them, that'll help a lot. Tariq Cohen's obviously, I think he's like 5'6" or something like that, so it does not fit that bill. So unfortunate for Tariq Cohen that his career kind of ended this way, but a very good career nonetheless. And I'm just going to do like an injury wrap-up, training camp injury wrap-up. Justin Herbert out for at least the rest of the summer. He has plantar fascia, whatever. His foot is sore, and he is hopeful that he will play week 1. DeAndre Hopkins is out 5 to 6 weeks with a knee injury. That sucks for the Titans. Emmanuel Mosley of the Lions tore his pec. That's after coming off back to, I think, in an ACL injury where he missed the full season, an Achilles injury where he missed the full season. Now a torn pec, missing the full season. That just sucks. There's no other way to say that. That sucks for Emmanuel Mosley. Hopefully he comes back healthy for next season. Cam Sample of the Bengals, he tore his Achilles. Zadarius Smith was carted off in Browns practice yesterday. Puka Nacua is week to week with a knee injury. Mekhi Blackman of the Vikings tore his ACL, a rookie last year who was looking to be one of their starters this year. He's out. And then Christian Barmore of the Patriots, I talked about it last week, but he has blood clots and he's just kind of out indefinitely. So that's kind of like the major injury wrap-up. There's obviously some guys who are banged up, like even like right now, but those are like the notable injuries that I found during training camp, just to let everyone know. So that does it for NFL Weekly Update. Let's get into these division previews now, and I'm going to start off with the AFC North, and start off with the team that was last in this division last year, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals. So what I'm doing, and I'll explain this probably every episode if I remember, but I'm going to do a little bit of a 2023 recap, what happened to these teams last season, go over the additions, go over the losses, kind of just talk about the team in general, what I like, what I don't like, Talk about an exciting player, someone who I'm excited to see on the field this year. And then finally the over-under further win totals for the season. Because Vegas knows. Vegas puts out really good lines, and it's kind of like that's easier for me doing like a floor and ceiling thing. It's, do I think that they're better than this, or do I think that they're worse than this? Pretty objective. At the end of each division, I will pick the division winner. And yeah, we'll go from there. So starting off with the Bengals. Bengals finished 9-8 last season, and it was just kind of a season that never really got started for them. Joe Burrow gets hurt during training camp, comes in week 1, obviously not good, not okay, playing injured, did not play well at all. Eventually sat out a couple games, came back, played okay, and then his last game, or his last game and a half, I should say, it was like, okay, Joe Burrow's back, this offense is back, and then he gets hurt again. Jake Browning comes in. Looked like there was a chance that they could have made the playoffs, but they were too far, they were behind the 8 ball already at that point, and just couldn't get it done. But 9-8 on the year when your quarterback missed the entire year, it's a win. Like, realistically, the Bengals could have been much, much worse last year. The fact that they did finish 9-8 is a testament to the coaching staff, who I haven't been rather kind about recently, other than Lou Anarumo. He is awesome, but yeah, Bengals finished 9-8 in 2023. The notable additions for in this offseason, they got Trent Brown, Zach Moss, Sheldon Rankins, Geno Stone, and I added in Mike Gesicki there just for a little fun, little Dolphins shout out. And then the notable losses: DJ Reader, Jonah Williams, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and Chidobe Awuzie. Okay. The Bengals play in a very, very tough division. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. This is still a very good team. Easy enough to say, I think. Where do I want to start with this, really? I think let's start with the offense. As I say that while I'm looking at the defense. No, we'll start with the offense. I think going into last year when I was doing these previews, I said the Bengals, it looks like they have their best offensive line that they've had in the Joe Burrow era. And I'm saying it again. Jonah Williams goes out. They draft Amarius Mims to hopefully be that franchise, I guess, right tackle for them, because they're paying Orlando Brown to be the left tackle right now, but for just to have a building block on that left, and a true building block, because Orlando Brown, he's solid, but he's not a true building block to the offensive line. But yeah, they draft Mims to come in and be one of those foundational pieces for this line, and I just mentioned they brought in Trent Brown as well, who they have depth at tackle, 3 mammoths on every tackle spot there. Obviously, there's injury concerns about Mims out of college. He only started in 8 games during his entire collegiate career. I think that's the number anyways. Trent Brown is good for like a third of the season, maybe half the season if you're lucky. So it's just like injuries are going to happen. And I saw that, maybe Trent Brown will kick inside. I think that would be crazy. He's played tackle his whole career. Let him be there if one of these other guys get hurt. I think that's smart. But this offensive line looks better than it has. Now we talk about the weapons. Jamar Chase, absolute stud, top 5 receiver. That is good. T. Higgins, a very, very good number 2 on the last year of his deal. And I don't think that they're going to pay him. He is franchise tag. I think he's just there to stay. That's fine. T. Higgins is still there. After that, we have a lot of questions. I talked about... Why did I talk about it? Because... what's his face signed there? Hakeem Butler of the UFL. That wide receiver 3 spot is up for debate. They have Andre Yosevas listed there in the depth chart right now. Trenton Irwin still there. Jermaine Burton, the rookie who they drafted, and then Butler. Like, Mike Gesicki is that starting tight end right now, and I think that Mike Gesicki was just used improperly in New England, like they have been doing with tight ends who are athletic. They just don't know what to do with them, apparently. And I think Mike Gesicki can flash in this offense. The run game now, Joe Mixon no longer there. They're kind of doing it a committee approach. Zach Moss, who had a great year with Jonathan Taylor being hurt in Indy last year, so he's now there. Chase Brown, he flashed towards the end of the season, and they're hoping that he can give them a little more, and I like Chase Brown a ton. I'll talk about Chase Brown more, because he is an exciting player to look out for. Hint, hint. And then obviously, it all comes back to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, who has been... I'm trying... No, I think how am I going to say this? I'm not out on Joe Burrow, but I am out on Joe Burrow being one of these elite guys who can take over a game. I don't believe it. I just simply don't believe it. We saw him be that dude in college, but that team in college was full of NFL studs, top to bottom, and we've seen him play fantastic in the NFL. I mean, the Bengals went to a Super Bowl run. Was that because Joe Burrow and the offense? No, not whatsoever. That was the defense that carried them that whole way. But Joe Burrow is still living off his hype from college, and it's fair, and he's also proven it in the NFL to some extent, but I think when I look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, Joe Burrow doesn't belong in the same conversation as those two guys at quarterback. Joe Burrow is still definitively top 5 quarterback, but I think he is closer as a player, like someone like Brock Purdy, like Tua, Jordan Love, like... This might be too much hate. This might be too much hate for Joe Burrow. But again, still a top 5 quarterback. But I don't know. I'll probably eat my words, but I'm not in on the Bengals this year. I think they're going to be a very good team, but I'm not in on them personally. We'll go to the defense. The big loss for them was DJ Reader, who I think has been the unsung hero of this defense for the last few years. I mean, you saw it last year. I think he tore his quad later into the season, and that defense just kind of fell apart without him there plugging up the middle. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson, the best player on that defense, but I think that DJ Reader was the most important player, and now he's gone, and they've kind of gone the committee approach to try to replace him. They brought in Sheldon Rankins, who has had a very productive career, and then they drafted Chris Jenkins Jr. out of Michigan. Again, a good player, but I think that DJ Reader loss is tough. We'll go to the secondary. Geno Stone, I like that addition, the ball-hawking safety out of Baltimore. He joins Von Bell in that safety tandem. They lose Chidobe Awuzie, and they're hoping that their second-round pick last year, DJ Turner, also out of Michigan, can step up. And I believe in Lou. I think Lou can put a very good defense together, but I look at this Bengals roster, and I compare them to the other teams in the AFC who want to be contenders, and I compare them to even the teams in their own division. And I think that they have the worst roster on paper in their division. It's a very, very tough division. It's very, very close between all of the teams right now. But I don't know. It's a tough division. It's a very, very tough division to pick from, but there's a lot that's left to be desired in terms of true top-end talent, because we have guys like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, I'll even throw Higgins in there, and then it's just kind of the offensive line, average, above average players kind of across the whole thing. No standouts really. On the defense, like Trey Hendrickson's awesome, and they do have a lot of good players on the defense. But in terms of, again, standout great guys, not a lot to pick from. So yeah, I'm just kind of like, I like this Bengals team a lot, but I'm not high on them as maybe some other people will be. Maybe that makes me a hater. I don't know. Yeah, we'll talk about who I'm excited to watch. Who I'm excited to watch for the Bengals this year, and it is running back Chase Brown. Yeah, if you want kind of a dynamic player out of the backfield, someone who can catch a ball and then take it 40 yards, that is Chase Brown. And he was also an effective runner when he was splitting his time with Mixon. And yeah, like they brought in Zach Moss, and obviously it's going to be kind of a committee backfield for at least the start. But I think Chase Brown has the potential to lead this backfield in touchdowns, like just basically in everything. And potential to be a dynamic player in this offense, where this offense is looking for another dynamic player to have. And I think Chase Brown is the best bet to do that in this offense right now. Yeah, Chase Brown, the exciting player, or the player I'm most excited to watch on the Bengals. And then, yeah, we'll talk about that over-under. That over-under is set at 10.5. And I got to go with under. I mean, again, it's tough for me to look at this Bengals team and roster and be like, this is a bad team. It's not a bad team. Over under 10.5 wins, though, like being like, yeah, they'll get 11 wins, that's tough for me. It's very tough for me. I think this division is insanely hard. They have a hard schedule, and I just don't see it. Like, could this be a 10-win team? Definitely. Could this be a 9-win team? Absolutely. 11 wins. Like, I'm just banking that they have a better chance of being 10-7 or 9-8 as opposed to 11-6, 12-5. Like, I don't think that the Bengals are that good. I think that they will be good, and I'm going under 10.5 wins. It's hard not to sound like a hater there when, like, talking about a team that is a good team, but isn't great. And I think it's just because I need to see it from Joe Burrow. I need to see Joe Burrow go out there, play like an all-pro, play like a top 5 QB in the league again, because it's been a while. Like, I'll say that. It's been a while since we have seen elite play from Joe Burrow. I'll leave it at that. The next team up here, it is the Pittsburgh Steelers, finishing again with a winning record under Mike Tomlin, finishing 10-7 this year. We'll talk 2023 recap here. Yeah, Mike Tomlin doesn't go below 500. Despite the dog shit play at quarterback, despite decent offensive line play, and yeah, like Kenny Pickett was just fucking terrible that year. Despite all of that, they still go 10-7. They almost make the playoffs. Yeah. If you don't think the Steelers are going to win, they will win. They have been doing it forever. Notable additions for this season: Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Patrick Queen, Deshaun Elliott, Cam Sutton, and Dante Jackson. Notable losses: Levi Wallace, Chuks Okafor, and Kenny Pickett as a notable loss there. The quarterback position on the Steelers right now is still not great, obviously. They bring in Russ, who got cut, and they're paying him peanuts, but he's still making all his Broncos money, so he doesn't give a shit. They trade for Justin Fields, who Justin Fields looks to get new situation going. Justin Fields and Russell Wilson are infinitely better than what the Steelers had at quarterback last year. Infinitely better. Like, I don't care. Kenny Pickett was god awful when he played. Mitch Trubisky, garbage. Like, not good. And we can talk Russell Wilson's not good, Justin Fields isn't good. They aren't. Like, that's fine. I still see the potential in Fields. Russ is just cooked at this point. But actual quarterbacks in this league, like Kenny Pickett's not an NFL quarterback. Justin Fields and Russell Wilson are NFL quarterbacks. Whether that's the thing, that could be in the 22 to 32 range, but they are QBs in this league. Kenny Pickett not even in my top 45. That might be a little conservative, but the Steelers' offense in general is something that I'm excited about. I also didn't name that they lost Deontay Johnson, who they traded to Carolina. But the Steelers' offense and the Steelers' draft that they had, where the offensive line for the Steelers the last few seasons has been kind of bad. I don't think there's any real... it's been bad. It's been a huge point of weakness. And over these last couple drafts, they have built this offensive line that I think is one of the stronger units in the league, and depth included. Just in this draft, they added 3 guys who I liked a lot in Troy Fotano, Zach Fraser, and Mason McCormick. Fotano and Fraser, I think, are slated to start. If I'm looking, they are. And then after that, they got James Daniels at the right guard. He's been, again, like a solid, like good player. Isaac Suamalo, like a plus player. Broderick Jones, who they drafted last year in the first, he's been good. And now Fotano on that right side. Like, they built a good offensive line, and I do like a couple of the depth piece guys that they have. Just continue talking about this draft. They drafted Peyton Wilson out of NC State, long, rangy, athletic linebacker who just has an injury history, but we'll see how he looks there. They drafted Roman Wilson, who looks like he will be one of their starting wide receivers next to George Pickens. Pat Freiermuth, who was banged up for a lot of the year last year, he is back. Darnell Washington, who was one of my favorite players from last year's draft, he's just huge, just extra tackle who can also catch and run down the field. I believe in this Steelers offense to at least be, again, they were terrible last year. They could at least be league average with what they have assembled, which isn't, I don't know, that's not too crazy of a thing to say in my opinion. When it comes in terms of who's actually starting for the Steelers, though, whether it be Russ or Justin Fields, I think Russ is the starter for Week 1, and I think Fields steals his job by Halloween, because just Russ doesn't give you anything. Like, you know exactly week in and week out what you're going to get with Russ. Fields is at least dynamic as a rusher, where he can extend some stuff, and he still has a good, like a live, strong arm. Just, it's all the mental stuff with him, and he will work on that, but, I said oh my god, I can't talk. I said all last year where, the Falcons need to trade for Justin Fields and have him, and that's what Arthur Smith needs, and now Arthur Smith gets him. The running backs too, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, that's a fun, it's not a fun duo, but it's a good running back room. Najee Harris isn't the guy who I thought he was out of college, but still a capable guy. Jalen Warren really splashed on the scene last year, and I don't know. This offense, again, it's not Kenny Pickett, so I'm excited about this offense. George Pickens is also just my guy. He's a dog. He's fantastic. I think he's due for another huge season with, again, just better QB play. It's not Kenny Pickett. It's not Mitch Trubisky. It's better QB play, and he had like 1,000 yards last year on not that many catches. So in on George Pickens. And the defense. The defense is still fucking fantastic. And that's part of my thing. This Steelers team got 10 wins last year, and their offense was ass. Now if you can get their offense to be at least league average, the defense is still going to be great and can carry them. And that's kind of a model for a lot of teams. It's let's just have a league average offense and just hope that the defense can carry us to some wins right now, which is fine. But you look at that front seven: Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton, who they drafted last year, who I think he is going to be an emerging player. Cam Hayward is still there. TJ Watt, obviously. They bring in Patrick Queen to be one of their new linebackers. Joey Porter Jr. had a very good rookie season. Minka's still there. The team's just good. And I'm not going to discount Mike Tomlin and this team on what they can do. I think this is going to be an above 500 team, whether you like it or not, because they just have been every single year. And let's talk about some players that I am excited to watch. It is Keanu Benton. It is that big defensive tackle, nose tackle that they got last year. He flashed a bunch, and I think that with Cam Hayward getting a little bit older, with Larry Ogunjobi still being a good player, but Benton is in line to take over and have more of a role for this defense this year, and I think that he will ascend, especially over Ogunjobi, but I think that he will be pushing Hayward for the top interior player on that Steelers defensive line this year. So he's my exciting player for the Steelers. And let's talk about these win totals here, because Vegas has their win total at 8.5. I'm going with over. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing record in this league. 8.5 means over gets me 9 wins. 9-8 is a winning season. This Steelers team is better, and it is much better, in my opinion, than last year's team. Do I think they're contending? Do I think they're doing this? No. But I think that this Steelers team will at least get 9 wins, because that's all they do is win, 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 win. Moving on now, the Cleveland Browns, 11-6 last year, a sneaky playoff team, and all thanks to the help of Joe Flacco. The 39-year-old QB, I think, last year, came in off his couch and just started chucking the ball down the field to Njoku and Amari Cooper, and it was a great story for the whole fucking second half? Last third of the season, basically, it was a great story. Flacco ended up winning Comeback Player of the Year. For what? What did he come back from? Nothing. But the award it's a weird award. But this Browns team, they are a good roster, and they dealt with a lot of injuries last year. A lot of injuries last year. And still finishing 11-6 is, it just shows how good that staff is. And Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, I should add, did a fantastic job. We'll talk about the additions for this year. They brought in Jameis Winston, traded for Jerry Jeudy, brought in Quentin Jefferson, Jordan Hicks, Devin Bush, and Tyler Huntley. Notable losses for the team: Jordan Elliott and obviously Joe Flacco. So this Browns roster is top to bottom excellent, and I don't care what anyone says. Andrew Berry has done an excellent job constructing this roster. Offensive line, great. The weapons that they have, Amari Cooper, trading for Jeudy. Jury's out on him, but I think that Jerry Jeudy's still a good player in the league, a good wide receiver too. I think Elijah Moore is solid. David Njoku really emerged as a great tight end last year. Hopefully Nick Chubb comes back, but the running game has always been great. That defense is just excellent. The secondary is fantastic. The front four is great. The linebackers are great. Like, there isn't a whole lot to not like about the Browns. And I guess I just said, Kevin Stefanski, Coach of the Year. And then you get to the quarterback position. They have 3 Pro Bowlers. 3 different Pro Bowl quarterbacks in their room right now. How great is that? Obviously, that's a joke because it's Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, and Tyler Huntley. But that is what's going to hold back the Browns from achieving anything this year. Is their quarterback room in general is just not good. At this point, Jameis Winston might be the best one. I don't know. But I think we all need to give up on the nasty man ever going back to that pre-rape allegation form. We're never going to see that Deshaun Watson again. That Houston Deshaun Watson, he's dead. He's gone. Forget about him. What you have now is a guy you're paying $60 million a year guaranteed to be an average quarterback. And you hope that he's an average quarterback because we haven't even seen him be an average quarterback since he's been in a Browns uniform. That's not even like, an objective, that's biased. Like, that's a fact. Deshaun Watson has played 1/2 of good football since he has been a Brown. It is what it is. But with all that being said, if Watson can just be an average top 20 quarterback, that puts him in the range, in my opinion, with guys like Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield. This Browns team is good enough to do what they did last year and make the playoffs. And that's kind of what I was talking about with some of these teams where you just need an average offense and a very good defense, and you can win a lot of games in this league. Do I think you can contend for a Super Bowl with a team like that? I don't, but in terms of winning games, the Browns will do that. And they're again, I was talking about their roster, and that defense is still absolutely incredible. I mentioned off the top of the show, Zadarius Smith got carted off. I haven't heard anything about if it's a major injury. I hope that he's okay. But him, Myles Garrett, I gotta actually look at this depth chart and pull it up here. But like Denzel Ward, obviously in the secondary. Greg Newsome has been excellent. They got Dalvin Tomlinson in the middle, Shelby Harris, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Jordan Hicks, Juan Thornhill, Martin Emerson. Like, the defense is loaded. The offense is loaded. It literally just all depends on if Watson can be a top 20 quarterback. And again, he has not been a top 20 quarterback in this league since he wore a Texans uniform. Is what it is. I wouldn't be shocked if Watson gets benched. Like, they have a good enough QB room where they should be trying different guys in there. Like, I don't know why Jameis wouldn't get a shot if Watson's looking like shit. I think that Dorian Thompson Robertson, who they drafted last year, I think that's his full name, DTR, out of UCLA last year. Like, I think that he can still develop into something nice. Like, Tyler Huntley is, like, I think just like a very solid backup. But at least they got options at QB this year. They got options. Whether Watson will end up being the best one, I have no idea. But all this Browns team needs to be relatively successful is average QB play. And I guess we'll see. Did I say that the Browns were in? I did say that the Browns were in the Ayuk sweepstakes. So we'll see if something happens there. I think my last note for like just the team in general is obviously we don't know when Nick Chubb will be back or how he will look. Obviously, he's coming off that devastating knee injury last year after already having a devastating knee injury in college. It would be very tough for him to come back and like be the Nick Chubb that we all have seen throughout the years. But if anyone could do it, it would be him. So hopefully the Chubb is back healthy at some point this year. And we'll talk about the player that I am excited to watch as the close out of my thing. Yeah, my exciting player who I'm excited to. I don't think I need to explain. My exciting player, the player I'm excited to watch. Brain fart there, but yeah, I'm excited to watch Ogbo Okoronkwo, one of the edge rushers who they got over from the Texans, who they signed last year, I believe. Young player and has flashed flashed in a lot of different ways over the last couple years, but now with Zadarius Smith getting up there in age, and now after kind of this like little injury he has, Okoronkwo has a chance to come in, play some very, very good football early, and maybe solidify himself as the, like, I guess, 2A, 2B pass rusher with Smith, where they're seeing more of a rotation instead of Smith getting the majority of those snaps. He's the guy who I'm excited to watch. I think a lot of the other guys on the Browns are just kind of like, they're established. We know what to expect from them. But Okoronkwo is the one who I'm excited about. Who did the Browns draft this year? I mean, I know that they didn't have picks, really. Zach Zinter, a guard. Did they draft a defensive guy? Mike Hall. Mike Hall was their good pick. Yeah. And when we're talking about the over-under here, so it's over-under 8.5 wins on the season, and I'm going with under. I'm going with under for the sheer reason that Joe Flacco was the reason why they won so many games down the stretch, and he is not there anymore. And I don't think that Deshaun Watson is as talented as a 39-year-old Joe Flacco for the Browns, and will be the reason why they don't do so well. Simple as that. I don't think there's much to dispute there, but yeah, the Browns are going under 8.5 wins for this year. And finally, we have the best team in the division, the best team in football last year, the 13-4 Baltimore Ravens. They got the 1 seed, and it looked good the entire year. They got a big win against the Niners. They kicked the shit out of the Dolphins. They got that 1 seed. They were rolling, looking good. All of a sudden, they play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game and just abandoned their entire game plan. They're like, nope, we're not going to run the ball. We're going to pass, and everything fell apart for them. It was embarrassing, and a lot of things didn't go their way. Obviously, I think it was Zay Flowers fumbled. I think he might have fumbled twice, fumbled once going into the end zone. I think Gus Edwards fumbled too. There was a lot of miscues on offense and defense. They almost kind of came back towards the end, but no one could stop the Chiefs when it mattered. It was just, last year felt like the year for the Ravens, and it sucks when you have a team that's assembled like that and a very good team, and just have nothing to show off for it, not even a trip to the Super Bowl. It was tough, but this Ravens team is still good, still very good. But we'll talk about the notable additions. They brought in Derrick Henry. They brought in Eddie Jackson. That's it. The notable losses, though, is a very long list. So, they lost Patrick Queen, Geno Stone, Jadeveon Clowney, John Simpson, Kevin Zeitler, Devin Duvernay, Morgan Moses, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Ronald Darby, and Odell Beckham Jr. They lost a shit ton. They lost a lot. And we'll start off with this. Actually, no. We'll start off with the defense. They also lost, obviously, defensive coordinator Mike McDonald, who is now the Seahawks head coach, who I like quite a bit. But we'll start with the defense. New defensive coordinator Zach Orr, who was a former Ravens late round draft pick, ended up being an all-pro. Injuries ended his career, immediately went into coaching. Now he is defensive coordinator of the team that drafted him. God, I think he was only drafted in like 2016 or 17. Like, it was a quick turnaround for him and rise in the coaching ranks, but he's their new defensive coordinator. He will be running that same system that Mike Macdonald ran, because, again, it fucking works, and Mike Macdonald is a great... Either way, I won't get into it. But this is still a very, very good Ravens team. They lost Clowney, which was big, but they still have Owa. They still have Ojabo. They're hoping those two guys kind of take those leaps that they were hoping for, because they were early round draft picks. The interior of the line is still great with Michael Pierce and Broderick Washington, and obviously Justin Matabuke, who just signed a big extension this offseason. He was absolutely incredible for them. The secondary, it still gets better. Marlon Humphrey, been around the block forever. Very good corner. Kyle Hamilton, the best safety in football, in my opinion. Marcus Williams is awesome. I said Eddie Jackson. They like running those three safety looks. Eddie Jackson will be in there. Brandon Stevens, the other corner. They drafted Nate Wiggins out of Clemson for just some added secondary depth. Also added TJ Tampa, who I quite liked a lot. And the big replacement was the big loss on defense was Patrick Queen, the starting linebacker opposite Roquan Smith. And they got Trenton Simpson, who... Like, if you were to just watch those two guys on tape without their names and just number 0 or whatever on it, like, they look like the exact same football player. I don't think that this defense will miss a beat whatsoever. I still think that they are absolutely incredible. So I'm not worried about the defense. I'm not worried about this Ravens defense whatsoever. It still will be one of the stronger defenses in the NFL. What worries me is the offense. An offense that lost 3 starters along the offensive line and have basically gone to just like we're upgrading from within and the draft. They added Roger Rosengarten out of Washington to man their right tackle spot, and then they're upgrading from within. They're hoping that the guys who they've had in previous years can step up and fill those starter roles, and I kind of just have to go with it. Like, if being completely honest, the Ravens are such a successfully run franchise and have been for more than a couple decades at this point now. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt of the players that they draft and develop will end up being contributing players in the NFL, because they've done it forever. And why wouldn't I believe that these new guys along the offensive line, like Andrew Voorhees, like Daniel Falele, and Rosengarten, why won't they be good starters in the league? So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think Ayuk just got traded. Steelers and 49ers re-engaged in conversations midday today around blah, blah, blah. Okay. There has not been an update. Never mind. But, like, the offensive line is an issue, but I'll take a step back and let it play out, not judge too much, because, again, the Ravens deserve the benefit of the doubt at this point. Zay Flowers, after a great rookie year, obviously kind of some missteps towards the end. He is back as wide receiver number 1. Rashad Bateman, wide receiver number 2. Still looking for a breakout year from him. But right now, he's their second receiver, which isn't fantastic. Obviously, Mark Andrews is back healthy. He will be the starting tight end and arguably Lamar's favorite target. Isaiah Likely, who has been very good whenever Andrews goes down. Hopefully they do work in some two tight end sets. I've heard or I've read that they have been looking into two tight end sets because they should just be getting both those guys on the field because, again, Bateman and Nelson Aguilar as wide receiver 2-3, not great. But it all comes down to this for me. It all comes down to they got Derrick Henry. And I don't care. Derrick Henry is past his prime. He's in his 30s. Derrick Henry has shown no signs of slowing down. And people like to point to last year and be like, oh, he wasn't good. The Titan, he wasn't good last year. It's like the Titans had the worst offensive line in the league, a rookie quarterback who wasn't great last year, if we're being honest. Like, Will Levis flashed. He had, 2 good games, and the rest of his games were very below average. So they just keyed in on Derrick Henry the entire time and be like, okay, you want to run the ball up the middle? We're just going to stack the box and stop you. And Derrick Henry was still a very effective player last year, and now you bring him to the Ravens with an actual offense, with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, where you got to worry about both of those guys. And I think if the offensive line can be average, this offensive line is already much better than what Derrick Henry had to work with in Tennessee last year. I can tell you that. So that gives me, it's okay, if they can get a running game, Gus Edwards was their number 1 back last year. Derrick Henry, even though he's 30 or however old he is, he's definitely in his 30s, is still 10 times the player Gus Edwards is. I wish I would have realized that in fantasy last year when I traded for Gus Edwards, but that's a whole other issue, and I will never forgive myself for that. That was a tough year to end fantasy. Whatever. But yeah, this Ravens team is still good. Are they as good as the 13 and 14 last year? No, but they need young players to step up in key positions if they want to get back to that AFC Championship game, to maybe get to a Super Bowl. Yeah, and I think that they have a chance to do it. My exciting player to watch for them, it will be Odafe Owa, the edge out of Penn State. Clowney was great in his role last year. Clowney actually had a career year, and Owa has been someone who has been very consistent since he's been drafted, but hasn't made that splash to be you're our number 1 edge guy. And I think that he has the opportunity to this year. We'll see if it happens, but I hold out hope for him that he will be the guy to look out for. And obviously, you got to be excited for Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton is just a special, special player. And I remember there was, after he got drafted or whatever, it was a one-on-one in practice, and the wide receiver ran a double move, and people are like, Kyle Hamilton can't cover, Kyle Hamilton's cooked, blah. And it's no, you just, a one-on, doing one-on-ones and running a double move is just kind of cheating. But no, Kyle Hamilton can literally do everything for the Ravens. He is that fucking good. And I think the Ravens, their defense needs to be spectacular again for them to get back to kind of the heights they were last year. And I think they got a chance to. They're over-under for the season, set at 10.5. And I'm going with over. They were a 13-win team last year. I think that they got a little worse, at least depth-wise, but I don't think it matters. They're still an 11-win team. They're still probably an 11-plus win team for me. So I am going with the over on the Ravens. And for a division winner, this was a tough one. I went back and forth between a couple teams, but I am landing on the Ravens. Yeah, I'm landing on the Ravens. I am so excited for Derrick Henry in the Ravens backfield to see what he can do. And I think he has another all-pro type of season. Yeah, I think I can just leave it at that. We'll go over to the NFC now. NFC North, starting with the Chicago Bears, the 7-10 Chicago Bears. My 2023 recap for the Bears is, do you remember Tyson Bagent? Came in, played pretty well. Dad was a arm wrestler. That's basically the Bears recap. No, obviously it was started terribly because Luke Getsy can't run an offense and did all the things that didn't work that they did in 2022, and then Fields got hurt. Bagent comes in. Bagent's terrible. They trade for Montez Sweat. Fields comes back, and they go on a bit of a run. The defense looks much better. The offense kind of takes shape at least a little more, but a lot left to be desired. And thankfully, because of the trade that they made a year earlier with the Bears, so they could jump up to number 1 and grab their QB of the future, Bryce Young, because the Panthers were so bad last year, the Bears lucked into number 1, and now they have Caleb Williams in an offense that looks absolutely incredible. So we will talk about the notable additions. They got Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, Kevin Byard, and Ryan Bates. Notable losses, Darnell Mooney, Justin Jones, and Cody Whitehair. Let's talk about this offense. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, and then their trio of backs with Swift, Herbert, and Roschon Johnson. This is a very good fucking offense. One of the best situations that a rookie QB has been dropped into in a long time. And not even just a rookie QB, but a rookie number 1 overall pick who has been tabbed as generational. Going into an offense with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze, who has been Caleb's boy in the pre-draft process. The Bears absolutely crushed it. And I am so excited to see how this offense looks. And I don't think it's crazy for me to be like, yeah, Caleb Williams should come in and be a killer. There are no weak points on this Bears offense. And you could point at the offensive line and be like, it's a little, it's not great, but it's good. You want to go play for Carolina and go play for their offensive line last year? You want to go back to Miami in 2020 and play what Tua had under offensive line? No, this is a good offensive line. Darnell Wright, first-round pick last year, he was pretty damn good. Tevin Jenkins has developed into a good guard. They bring in Nate Davis from Tennessee. They trade for Ryan Bates, who I didn't mention. This is a solid offensive line with a... It's tough for me to, if Caleb doesn't win Rookie of the Year, it rather means that one of the other receivers, not named Rome Odunze, but that Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. absolutely went off, potentially, but Caleb, there's a reason why Caleb Williams should be the favorite for Rookie of the Year, and he is the favorite, is because he has so many people to throw to. There's no reason why the Bears should not be a competitive team this year. And we'll talk about the defense, because the defense is also very solid. And I'll start with the secondary, because that is the strong point of this team. Jalen Johnson got a big extension in the offseason. They love Tyreek Stevenson. They love Kyler Gordon. Jaquan Brisker at safety has been very good, and now they bring in Kevin Byard from Philly last year, who obviously got traded off the Titans. Kevin Byard still has good football left in him. I don't think that him looking bad in Philly was his fault, because everyone looked bad in that Philly secondary, and those coaches did not do a good job, and giving Matt Patricia play calling duties is a terrible idea. I don't care who you are. But yeah, I think that Kevin Byard still has good football left in him, and I do think that that is a good signing for this secondary. The backers, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, like, great. The front four, again, little left to be desired. They could have drafted one of these edge guys at the 9th pick, but they decided to go offense. But they're very happy with Montez Sweat after what he did for them after getting traded last year, and I don't blame them. Sweat was fantastic. Gervon Dexter, who they drafted in the 2nd last year, they're hoping he takes a bit of a jump. Zach Pickens, who they also drafted last year, they're hoping he keeps developing. They also brought in Andrew Billings, who was out of football for a bit, but now he's back, and he looked pretty good. It's like, this Bears defense, if they kind of trend in the same way that they did last year, and the offense plays up to its potential, there's no reason for why this Bears team can't be a playoff team. And the only thing that's really kind of holding me back just a little bit, it's the coaching. Matt Eberflus has not shown me that he is a great or even a good NFL head coach yet. I think that he was lucky he didn't get fired last year, but if this offense comes out of the gate slow, not looking good, they start losing games, I think Matt Eberflus is starting the season on the hot seat. And if the Bears are 3-5 going into like Halloween kind of thing, like, I think he could be gone. They bring in Shane Waldron, who was the Seahawks offensive coordinator beforehand, and like, I think that's like a fine hire, but this coaching staff is kind of potentially holding it back. Now, we could be a month into the season, the Bears are looking great, the defense is looking great, everything's like all hunky-dory, but until then, that's my like pause for concern with this team right now. In terms of players I'm excited for, it is Caleb Williams. Like, and again, there's so much pressure on him to be great immediately, but he's in such a good position where he should be able to play great immediately, and I am very excited to see what he can do. I guess other players I'm like excited for, it's like, I do like Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon, the other two corners in that secondary. But Caleb's the guy, man. Actually, one more guy I'm going to talk about here. It is Roschon Johnson, who is probably their third back now. Was a rookie last year. He was Bijan's running mate at Texas. And I think Roschon has the potential to end up being the starter by the end of the year. Obviously, they paid pretty big money for DeAndre Swift, who is great in open space, but he cannot break a tackle to save his life. They still have Khalil Herbert. Like, that is a messy backfield, especially fantasy-wise, but I think that Roschon Johnson can come out on top at the end of the day. And the over-under for this Bears team, it is set at 8.5, and they were 7-10 last year. Like, you best believe I'm going over. Like, they are dramatically better on both sides of the ball. Like, it is what it is. 8.5, 9 wins. I can totally see that. I think anything less. Like, I think that this win total, like 8.5, if Matt Eberflus, if they get and they're 9-8, your job is safe. Fuck, maybe even not. But yeah, if they're under the 8.5 win mark, like, he's fired. He's gone. You find someone else, move on. But yeah, I'm over 8.5 wins for the Bears. Next team up here, we have the Minnesota Vikings, also finished 7-10. 2023 recap. The offense was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun until it wasn't. And then Kirk tears his Achilles, and that was kind of that. A team that was obviously went on a great run in 2022, but we saw that regression, and then there was a chance where it's like, okay, this offense is looking good even with Justin Jefferson out, and maybe that they'll push for the playoffs, but as soon as Kirk tears his Achilles, that was that. We'll talk about the additions for them. They got Jonathan Grenard, Sam Darnold, Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Shaq Griffin. Notable losses: Danielle Hunter, Kirk Cousins, DJ Wadham, Jordan Hicks, and Marcus Davenport. This Vikings team, I am a big fan of their coaching staff. And that's head coach Kevin O'Connell, and that's defensive coordinator Brian Flores. I think both of those guys, what they do on their sides of the ball, is some of the best, like problem solving and like effective decision making, and just doing things that other guys aren't really doing in the NFL. They do that so well. And that's what has me excited about the Vikings, is those two men. Because after that, it's a little tough to kind of like either unit on either side of the ball right now. We'll start off with the defense. Obviously, they lose Danielle Hunter, who been there for a while, has been a very good player, but they bring in a couple players to make that loss a little, like obviously they hope that Jonathan Grenard, they basically just swap them, Texans and Vikings. I think the front seven is good. I think the front seven has potential, especially for what Brian Flores does and likes to do. Blake Cashman and Ivan Pace Jr., I think, are a very good linebacking tandem. They draft Dallas Turner to be one of those edge rushers. I think he's going to be great. They bring in my boy Andrew Van Ginkel, who has a ton of familiarity with Brian Flores, obviously, as he was Van Ginkel's head coach in Miami. And Van Ginkel does a lot. He can rush the passer. He can defend the run. He can cover in space. Like, Van Ginkel is good at basically everything that is asked of him to do, but he's not great anywhere. But that is a great player to have, especially in a Flores system that asks players to do a lot of different things. So I like this front seven for the defense. The secondary, though, is just flat out not good at all. Like Harrison Smith, still kicking around. He is well past his prime at this point. Still like a solid player. Byron Murphy Jr. has kind of had a little bit of a resurgence after being a first-round pick for Carolina. Shaq Griffin is now starting for them. He's just not good. Like, I'm sorry, he's just not. Cam Bynum and Josh Metellus have been very solid young players. They hope to still develop, and obviously their big loss for them was the rookie that they drafted in the 4th round this year, Kyrie Jackson, who they had big hopes and a lot of plans for this coming season, and obviously he loses his life in that tragic car accident caused by a drunk driver. Like, just terrible story all around. But they lose Kyrie Jackson. Mekhi Blackman, who I mentioned, he was looking to be one of their potential starting corners. He's out now. Like, this is an extremely weak secondary. And for a Brian Flores defense that likes to blitz a lot and likes to leave their guys on an island because they just hope that they get to the QB fast enough, they have the potential to get picked apart quite a bit. And again, I believe in Brian Flores as a defense coordinator, and I think that he will make that unit look better than it actually is because he is a very good defensive coach. But that is a weak-ass secondary. On the other side of the ball, Justin Jefferson, obviously one of the best, arguably the best wide receiver in football. Jordan Addison, when he isn't drunk driving, is also a very good wide receiver. He should be suspended for the start of the season. I don't know why he wouldn't be. And their offensive line has been great. Christian Darrisaw just got paid. Garrett Bradbury, one of the best centers in football. Brian O'Neill, a very good right tackle. Did I say that they brought in Aaron Jones? I don't think I listed Aaron Jones. I did not. Yeah, they also brought in Aaron Jones to be their starting running back, something that they missed dearly. Like, they just basically didn't have a running game at all last year. They were all pass, and that's why Kirk's stats were so good, was they were such a pass-happy offense because they could do nothing running the ball. Alexander Mattison was not good. They brought in Cam Akers for a bit. Cam Akers couldn't do anything. Eventually, Ty Chandler took over and was, like, okay for them. But they bring in Aaron Jones now, who I am a big Aaron Jones fan and believe that he can be the guy. Can he be a 3-down workhorse back for them? No, but I think Aaron Jones can do a lot of things out of the backfield for this Vikings offense, and I'm excited to see how Kevin O'Connell will deploy him. The big problem about this offense, TJ Hawkinson, first off, tore his ACL, I think, tore something late in the year, and he's not expected to be back until, I think, October, or maybe early November, which is very, very tough for this team. And then, obviously, it's the QB situation. Kirk is gone. They bring in Sam Darnold. They draft J.J. McCarthy. Sam Darnold has looked pretty good in training camp by the writers and by a bunch of fans and whatever. J.J. McCarthy, I don't believe he should be starting this year. If he does, that means Sam Darnold has been bad. But, like, Sam Darnold, you just got to throw to Justin Jefferson. He will be open probably at least 75% of the time. That's the big issue. It's, will the quarterback play be good enough for this Vikings offense to also be good enough? And I just don't think so. Again, we're just past the point of Sam Darnold being a good quarterback in this league. He has just flat out never been a good quarterback in this league. And this isn't like a Baker Mayfield thing where, he'll bounce around from a couple teams and then find his footing and be good. It's no. Like, Baker Mayfield has shown that he can be a good quarterback in this league. Sam Darnold has still not shown after, this is year 7 for him now, that he can be a good starter in this league. Will he have some good spot starts? Of course, but over a full season, not good enough, and that's part of the reason I just don't have any faith in the Vikings this year whatsoever. My exciting player to watch, it is Josh Metellus, one of their secondary players, safety, slot corner, nickel corner, little bit do it all. But this is a guy that Brian Flores likes a lot and likes to use a lot because he can move kind of all over the scheme and play a bunch of different roles. And they're going to need him to have like an incredible breakout year if the secondary wants to do anything. But I think he is a very solid player and someone who should get a little bit more respect by the end of this year. I guess we'll see, though. Over-under for them, set at 7.5. I'm going under. They were a 7-win team last year. I don't think that they really improved. Quarterback play is iffy for me. The defense, although Brian Flores will have them playing better than they should be, still a little worrisome for me. So I'm going under 7 wins for the Vikings for this year. Next team up, the Green Bay Packers, who finished 9-8, just squeaking into the playoffs last year. 2023 recap. Started off a little shaky, where it's like, oh, will Jordan Love be the guy? And by the end of that 2023 season, Jordan Love, the second half of last year, was the best quarterback in football. And that's not me, like, Jordan Love was the best quarterback in football by basically every statistical measurement you want, whether it be passing yards per game, touchdowns, completion percentage. Like, Jordan Love was absolutely incredible that second half of the season, and he got paid for that second half of the season, now tied for the highest paid QB in football. So the notable additions for the Packers, they added Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. Notable losses, Aaron Jones, John Runyon, and Darnell Savage. This Packers team is still very good and is obviously trending in the right direction after everything that's happened last year. And I went and I looked back, because obviously we all know that now the Packers have gone from Brett Favre, Hall of Famer, Aaron Rodgers, future Hall of Famer, and now Jordan Love, who in his real first year of playing looked really, really fucking good. And I went back to look. So since 1992, when Brett Favre was the Packers starter, the Packers have had 5 losing seasons. 5 below 500 seasons. In, what would that be? 30... I can't do math. Holy shit. Yeah, 35 years? Is that right? This is bad. Why can't I do math? Yeah, no, 34 years. 33 years. Whatever. Either way, in a long-ass fucking time, 5 losing seasons. 5 losing seasons. Fuck. The Dolphins, I don't even know what their losing number of losing seasons would be in that whole time frame. It would be a lot, I can tell you that. But the Packers have had it so goddamn easy over the years, and all the credit to Matt LaFleur for this regime and age of Packers QB play. He got them all going exactly where they needed to be, and I think that's kind of what I was saying throughout most of the season last year, is like, they're just not all on the same page, and then everyone got on the same page. And this is a Packers offense that is very young, but they all played their asses off when it mattered last season. And Jordan Love has a lot of guys to throw to who are all still on their rookie contracts, whether it be Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton, at tight end, Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. And this offensive line is also, like, still very, very solid. Very good, I should add. It's just like, again, everything went the right direction, especially in that second half of the year. They were essentially unstoppable, and now out goes Aaron Jones, in comes Josh Jacobs, and Josh Jacobs, obviously, his 2022 season with the Raiders was fantastic. 2023, not so much. There was a lot that went wrong with that Raiders season, but Josh Jacobs hopes to kind of get, like, fresh feet from, under him and really take over this Packers job. But I think that Josh Jacobs is here to steal A.J. Dillon's job, which is the short yardage guy, goal line back, that type of work. And they drafted running back Marshawn Lloyd out of USC, who I think is going to be more of the pass-catching, dynamic type player out of the backfield. And I think those two will be the guys in this running game, then it should. Again, this running game has now been improved upon, in my opinion, with the addition of Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd. And we'll talk about this defense now, who is also added to it. Also, got to mention their first-round pick, Jordan Morgan, out of Arizona. Again, the Packers just draft good offensive linemen. I'm sure that Jordan Morgan will also be that. I don't know if he's starting at the moment, but it is what it is. This defense, though, adding to it, they drafted Edgerrin Cooper out of Texas A&M to be one of their starting linebackers. They drafted Javon Bullard out of Georgia to be their other safety alongside Xavier McKinney, who they just brought in. That front seven was already excellent. Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Preston Smith, Quay Walker, Lucas Van Ness from last year, Devontae Wyatt. The secondary still strong. Jair Alexander maybe fading a little bit as like a true number one corner, but still good. Stokes is good. I think that is the weak point. If we are pointing to a weak point on this defense, it would be their corners, not necessarily the secondary in general, because I do think that Xavier McKinney will make up for a bunch of that. But that front seven is very, very good. They have Jordan Morgan penciled in at right guard, which I think is a bit of an interesting one. But again, I digress. The Packers team is still very good. For the player I'm excited for, it's an offensive lineman, and it is their right tackle, Zach Tom, who has not allowed a sack in... I'm trying to remember what the stat is for him. Either way, I think Zach Tom didn't allow a single sack at all last year, and it's just been one of the most unsung players across the league, offensive line wise. But I think now that the Packers are a little bit more in the spotlight again, that he will get seen as one of the better tackles in the league. But I'm on the Zach Tom hype train, and he is one of the best tackles in football right now. Well, that might be a little much because Wirfs and Sewell and Slater, but in that second tier of guys who need to break into that top tier, I think Zach Tom is in that tier. I think that's fair. In terms of over and under, 9.5. I've been battling on what to say about this one. And there was so much positive progression on the offense last year. Everyone was on the right page towards the end of the season. And I don't know if I should still be believing in that everyone will get on the same page, everyone will continue to all progress together, but I'm on the under. I'm on the under 9.5, and that's not because I don't... It's like the Bengals. I think that both of these teams are going to be very good, potentially pushing for playoffs. It's just such a tough league this year. And I was talking about it with Cameron last week, where there are so many good teams where it's so tough to make it. And I think that if I were to pick one of these playoff teams to regress from last year, it would be the Packers. I like all the receivers that they have on offense, but I gotta see it. I gotta see them all continue to do that, because I just haven't. And who's to say that they won't? I have no idea, but I'm under on the Packers this year. I still think they're going to be a good team, but some teams have to lose. It is what it is. So I am under on the Packers win total at 9.5. And finally, we have the Detroit Lions, 12-5 last year. started their season off hot, beating the defending Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Continue to just ride, and then they stumbled a little bit. Offense kind of didn't play that well. The defense was getting torched. That secondary was not good. They get back on the right page. They get in a duel with the 49ers in that NFC Championship game. Just come up short. But the Lions are fantastic and will continue to be fantastic in 2024. Notable additions for the team this year: DJ Reader, Kevin Zeitler, Marcus Davenport, and Carlton Davis. Notable losses: Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Jonah Jackson, Josh Reynolds, and Cam Sutton. The Lions were a team, and I just mentioned it, where they saw a clear deficiency in their team and in the secondary, and were like, this offseason, we're going to attack that position with trades and free agents and in the draft and just bolster that secondary up. And my God, did Brad Holmes ever do that? In the draft, they bring in Tyrion Arnold, one of the best corners in the draft. I think my number 2 corner behind Quinyon Mitchell, who went to the Eagles. But they bring in Tyrion Arnold. They draft Ennis Rakestraw, who I also had a high grade on. They trade from Carlton Davis, who has been a very solid corner for a decent amount of time, coming over from Tampa. They bring in Amik Robertson, too, from the Raiders, who is just like, that's a Dan Campbell type of player. That secondary went from that's not very good to that's a fucking good secondary. And they lose Emmanuel Mosley again for the season, which is too bad, but this Lions defense has improved dramatically and drastically, in my opinion. Secondary bolstered. Brian Branch had a terrific rookie year, playing in their nickel corner spot, playing a bit of safety too. And their other big addition that I'm excited for on defense is DJ Reader. I talked about how I thought he was the most important player, a part of that Bengals defense for the last few seasons. He's gone now. He's coming back from injury, but hopefully he comes back to that true form and can just plug up those holes in the run and help this Lions pass rush get home to the QB. And I believe that he obviously can. And he's next to another player that I love, Aleem McNeil, who I'm expecting to take another big jump. He was injured a bit last year. They missed him while he was injured. And obviously, and then bring in Marcus Davenport, another just solid, good edge rusher, nothing special, but just another guy to just get on the field. And then Aiden Hutchinson is absolutely unbelievable. He's very, very close to cracking my top 5 edge rushers, and that group is the elites of the elites. It's the Myles Garretts, the TJ Watts, the Micah Parsons, the Max Crosbys, the Nick Bosa. Aiden Hutchinson is just on the outside of that group looking in, and with the bolstered secondary, with the bolstered front 7, Aiden Hutchinson will have more looks at the quarterback, more chances to get those sacks. And he already got a shit ton of sacks last year. And he was, I think his pass rush win rate was one of the highest in the league, and highest by quite a bit. He is a special player, and I'll talk about it in a couple weeks' time when I go through my awards. Aiden Hutchinson is one of my Defensive Player of the Year picks. I think that he will have that big of a year, and I think this defense will be that much better for this season. And that's huge, because, again, that was one of the Lions' weak points, was their defense was not very good. It kind of got its shit together towards the end of the season, but that offense is what carried them, and the offense also got better. They lose Josh Reynolds, which he was their wide receiver too, arguably. They lose Jonah Jackson, which Jonah Jackson is an awesome guard, but they replaced him with Kevin Zeitler, who obviously way older, but just as good, in my opinion. That offensive line is still just absolutely incredible. Like Taylor Decker, who got a big extension, Graham Glasgow, Frank Ragnow, one of the best centers, Kevin Zeitler, awesome, Penei Sewell, fantastic. That offensive line is still stacked. Sam Laporta is coming into his sophomore season after a tremendous rookie year. Amon-Ra St. Brown was an all-pro last season. Like, he's still fucking fantastic. The running game with Monty and Gibbs, just absolutely electric. Gibbs getting more touches towards the second half of that year, and you can see how dynamic of a player he is when he gets more opportunities. I'm excited for him. But obviously there's a little to be desired on the offense. Just a little bit. Wide receiver 2 is kind of up in the air of who's going to win that spot. Obviously, it's Jameson Williams' spot to lose. And I'm on the camp that Jameson Williams is going to have a big year for the Lions. I think that he was injured his rookie season. He had the gambling suspension this year. Now, year 3, he should be fully into it, hit the ground running, no distractions, no injuries, just go out there, be your best self. And I think that JMO has the opportunity to do that. And the Lions kind of need him to do that. So yeah, and I have Jared Goff is Jared Goff. And that's not like Jared Goff is he's fine. Jared Goff's a very good quarterback. He does exactly what the Lions want him to do. I mean, he's been to multiple NFC Championships games at this point. He's played in multiple big games in his career. Very, very solid, dependable QB. And he also got a big extension this offseason, so good for Jared Goff. There's not a lot of bad things to me or for me to say about this Lions team, if we're just flat out being honest. Like, they've done everything so well. Why do I have a DoorDash activation code? Weird. I guess we can talk about who I'm excited for. It is Aleem McNeil, their other starting defensive tackle. He's right on the cusp of being like a household name for the Lions and kind of being a household name around the league. Defensive tackle, or at least interior defensive line, is such a stacked position right now around the league where it's hard to crack into that top 10. But I think Aleem, after this season, his name will be talked about in that top 10. A few guys will have to fall out, but I think that he is taking that next jump to being a force on the interior, and I'm excited to see what he can learn from DJ Reader and what those two guys look like next to each other. I expect big things for the Lions this year, and if we're going into their over-under 10.5 wins, fucking crank the over. 12-5 last year. I think that they got better. Actually, I know that they got better, at least on paper, from last year. I believe in this team so much. This is a very fun, very good team that I think their defense can take a massive jump, and they will be a very, very scary team this year. So, over 10.5 wins, I am firmly on that. And by my tone, you might be able to hear who I'm picking for the division winner. It is the Lions. I think this is very clearly the Lions' division to lose. And it's funny, I went under on the Packers win total, but the Packers have the second best chance to win this division by quite a bit. I think that the Bears will be good, but I don't think that the Bears will be pushing for the division. I think the Bears could push for a wild card spot, though. I'll talk about my playoff teams when I talk about it'll basically be like a 2024 hot take award, playoff predictions, whatever. That'll be the show. But, yeah, I am in on the Lions for winning this division. And, yeah, that'll do it for the AFC North and the NFC North. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how to talk about the Bengals. Because I think I'm way too low on them, but I'm way too low for no particular reason. I just don't think that their roster is as strong as a lot of other teams, and that's just, it is what it is. No more real football talk, but I do have a good story though. I was at a cottage this past weekend, a lovely time with some of my friends up there, and Sunday we're just chilling in the water, drinking some beverages, and it's kind of like it's a sandy lake. We got a bit of a beach, so we're in the water, but we're wading in the water, and there's some rocks, and all of a sudden I pick up a rock, I look at my friend's can, and I try to hit the rock with the can. And all of a sudden, that became a drinking game where it's, you hold your can of beer out, people are throwing rocks at it. If they hit, you take a sip. The game keeps going. Really, really dumb game. But we sat there for must have felt like 2 hours. Just sitting there, picking up rocks, throwing it at the cans. Just a classic guys being dudes moment, finding your own fun, ridiculous game. I got a couple welts on my arm for getting rocks hit there, but you can find fun anywhere, really. Was a great time, love that, but that was just, I don't know, just chilling in the lake, and then all of a sudden you find a drinking game where you just throw rocks at a can for 2 hours. We called it Murder Rock. Great times. That'll do it, though. If you have liked this, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, tell all your friends, and until next time, peace. Actually, next week I'm doing the East Divisions, NFC East, AFC East. I'll try to have Chew on, I'll try to have Keegan on, and we'll go from there. So now, if you have liked this, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, tell all your friends, and until next time, peace.